Hello everyone. This video is going to be about, it's going to be about me addressing the white community. I know this is funny. This is like the movie Dear White People. This makes me uncomfortable, but there's some things that need to be said. Okay, so dear white people, this is I guess a vlog. We'll call it a vlog diary titled Dear White People. Okay. Okay, so what I will say, I'm sorry, white people, excuse me. But, this is a conversation that needed to be had. Okay, so just know that whatever I'm going to say in this video, I'm going to make my disclaimers now at the beginning. This video is not to purposely upset any white person or to instill white guilt. This video is not to play the race card or to make it seem like all black people are good and all white people are bad. This video is specifically really about clearing up any tension or any elephants in the room that have gone unaddressed. Unaddressed. So, white people, what needs to be addressed? Well, first off, stop saying the N-word. Not in the don't say it in the song. Don't say it from a poem. Don't say it as, I'm just quoting what another person said. Just any time the term nigga is being used, whether it's explicit lyrics or you're quoting someone or using the word for contextual conversations, say N-word. Don't say nigger or nigga. From the Boondocks, he said, it's nigger and nigga. Don't do what he did. Just don't. Because there probably will be a lawsuit, especially if you're in a professional setting. Do not be surprised if you get sued. If a black person decides to sue you because you said the N-word, you cannot be mad anymore because now you've been forewarned. Don't say the N-word. Just don't. Don't even. Honestly, I wouldn't even urge you to say negoose and naga. I wouldn't even urge you to say that because it's too close. I feel like if one of y'all accidentally say that, like nah, I'm telling you, it's gonna be bullets flying. Just don't even say it. Don't say it. Don't say niggardly. Don't say nigger, nigga, negro, negoose, naga. Just don't say none of them. Just don't say it. Just don't say it. Don't say it. Because, you might wake up dead the next day. I'm just saying. You might wake up in a hospital bed wondering how you got there. Wondering why your fingers is missing. I'm just saying. But anyway, I'm just keeping it real with you because if you go in the hood and you say nigga, do not be surprised if 10 black men pull you out of the car and jump you. I'm just saying you cannot say the word. No, you can't. I'm making that clear now. If it wasn't clear before, if black people didn't make it clear before, I'm making it clear now. I'm speaking up for the black community when I say it is not okay for white people to say the N-word. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6 white people. It's not okay. Don't say it. Okay? Just, I had to get that out of the way because I'm like, I know sometimes y'all be jamming to, hip hop music and, just make sure it doesn't accidentally slip. Because I ride for my. Yeah, just let it be that. I ride for my. I die for my. You know how on the radio when they play the radio edit, the clean version? Yeah, just pretend like it's the clean version. How about anytime you want to listen to a song that has the N word, just put on the clean version. It'll help you. I guarantee you. I guarantee you won't be saying the N word anymore. Just listen to the clean version. You'll be good. I'm serious. Don't say it. Anyway. Okay, so I know that a lot of, white people have been asking, well, if we can't say the N word, or if we can't say the N word, then why do you get to say it? Good question. It's good that you ask because, certain things just have to be addressed. So why is it that black people are so adamant about white people not saying the N word, but yet we use the N word all the time? Well, that's because we earned the privilege to be able to say we've earned the privilege to be able to say that word, just like how you guys have white privilege, we have the privilege to say nigga, okay? I'm just gonna be, I know that's childish, but it is. You guys have white privilege, we get to say the N word. How about this? We might let you say the N word if you give us all of our reparations for the 600 to 700 years you enslaved us. We're gonna go ahead and collect all for every single black person that you've enslaved throughout this entire planet. We're gonna have to collect reparations in order for you to be able to say the N word, and I mean full reparations. Like you owe us billions, trillions of dollars. If you pay us if you pay the black community $100 trillion, then maybe we can talk. But until then, until we've received our $10 trillion reparations, you're not going to be able to say the N word. No time soon, buddy. I mean, if you just want to say the N word that bad, go ahead and give the black community around the globe $10 trillion, and that be our money and our money alone to spend, and you can't touch it, nor can we give it back to you. Then maybe we can talk. But until then, no, buddy, you're nowhere near. Okay, but let's get to the point where, white people ask, well, why do you guys say the N word? The reason why we say the N word, you guys have been calling us the N word for a very long time. It wasn't until recently when you stopped. Like the 50s was when y'all was still calling us Negro. So, we use the term, we flipped it around and we use it for something positive. Now we know that when you were saying nigger, you meant niggardly. We know. And we also know that you were using that term because you were mispronouncing the term Negro and Negus and Naga and all that. And that, that's the history behind the word nigga. But ultimately, we used that term and we flipped it around and we turned it into something positive. So when we call each other, when black people, when we say the term nigga and when we call each other nigga, what we're essentially saying is my fellow brother or my fellow sister. That's what we as the black community mean when we say that word. Now, we know that that's not what you meant when you created the term. You created the term for it to mean ignorant people. But when we call each other nigga, that's not what we mean when we say it. And we know that. That's why we get uncomfortable when other races of people use the term. Because it's a black thing. It is. It's just a black thing. Just like with white people, Wonder Bread and mayonnaise just seems to be something that you guys just love. I mean, seriously, what is up with that? Wonder Bread and mayonnaise. I don't, or mayonnaise and fries. You guys love mayonnaise and fries. I don't question that. I don't judge you, okay? I don't say nothing, okay? You guys do what you do, but I can't quite fathom mayonnaise and French fries or mayonnaise on a sandwich. Just like tons of it. I mean, like an unnecessarily and illegal amount of mayonnaise. I'm sorry, maybe I'm just being stereotypical, but if you question why we, the Black community, say the N word, then I feel like I should question why in the hell, Metalocalypse didn't come out with a fifth season. I mean, look, we Black people, you don't see us going around asking you questions, okay? That we don't need to be asking questions to, okay? Until y'all let me know when the next Metalocalypse episode comes out or next season of Metalocalypse comes out, then we can have that conversation. But until then, I haven't had closure enough to answer that question. And I'm just joking. No, seriously though, we mean it as a term of endearment when we say the N word. It's just, oh, what's up, homie? What's up, family? What's up, young blood? That's what it means to the Black people. It means something to us, because what that says to us is we were able to turn something ugly and what was meant for our oppression, and we were able to turn it into a fad. If you think about it, we were able to flip it around and turn it into something meaningful, something empowering and uplifting. And, I don't expect you to understand that. That's like me using the term redneck and trying to flip it around and make it positive. It's like, it's not. I don't expect you to understand that. I don't. It takes for somebody to go through that type of experience to truly empathize. I'm not expecting you to empathize, but what I'm expecting is for you to have sympathy. What I'm expecting is for you to have enough human compassion to respect that when we Black people say we are not comfortable with other races of people using the N word, then it's just a simple matter of whether or not you respect us enough as human beings to honor our wishes. And then are you prepared to deal with the consequences, if you don't? Because there is going to essentially be consequences. Now, it may not necessarily be the Black community that's dishing out those consequences. But if the Black community is specifically saying to non-Black people, hey, we as a community, we are not comfortable with you guys using the N-word, and you continue to use the N-word, what you're saying is, I don't respect you as a human being. I don't respect Black people as a human species. I'm not respecting your boundaries, and I'm going to simply ignore your wishes and use the term anyway. Now, what that says to the universe and what that says to the creator is you don't respect a group of people because you don't see them as human beings. That's essentially what you're saying non-verbally. When you claim to be non-Black, a non-Black human being, and you use the N-word, what you're saying is, I don't respect your people. I don't respect your struggle, and I don't acknowledge you as human beings. Therefore, I'm going to ignore your wishes as if you were an animal making a noise and I didn't understand you, and keep saying it as if you didn't say anything to me about it. That's essentially what you're saying. And I know that sounds kind of rash, like, dang, how could I be saying all that by just saying the N-word? Sometimes, it's the context. The subtext, really. What are you not saying? What are you saying that you're not saying verbally? Because if Black people are saying, oh, no, we do not want non-Black people to say that word, and you say it anyway, what message do you think you're sending? And like I said, that's just like if we go around calling white people redneck. I know you wouldn't be okay with that. I know it makes you upset. And even if that was something that you were proud of, that's not a proper term to describe white people. Or I could use a different derogatory term towards white people, and I'm pretty sure it would still have the same effect. So, when it comes down to concepts like that, although it is understandable you asking the question, I can't blame you for asking the question, especially now more than ever, now that the issue's been addressed. Why do we say it? And, when we give you the reason for why we say it, it doesn't have to make sense to you. And we shouldn't have to explain ourselves for you to respect our boundaries. I feel like the fact that we said we as the Black community are not okay with you using the N-word, the conversation should have been over. But see, the problem is, and I'm just going to address this with white people because, things need to be addressed, but you guys tend to have a habit of not respecting, other races of people's, boundaries. And then, a lot of times the way in which you guys respond is, oh, well, why should I do this? And, why don't you just explain it to me? And it's like, you have a valid point. But there are just some things that, the way in which when certain issues get addressed when issues get addressed to white people, a lot of times the way you guys respond, you're not coming from a place of compassion. Like, you don't even have to have empathy to understand that certain people, want to be treated a certain way. Or if someone is saying that they don't want you to call them something by a particular name, or if they want you to acknowledge their religion or their culture or their race or their color, whatever it is, they shouldn't have to debate with you about that. Human rights and acknowledging people's differences is not debatable. Like, that's like me saying an Asian person cannot be treated as a human being because they're Asian. It's like, that makes no sense. And when we as the Black community, because I can't speak for any other race of people, I can't speak for them. I can only speak for my own people. And when I speak for the Black community, when I'm addressing this, a lot of times you guys get defensive. And when we say whatever it is that we have to say, we're not saying it to attack you or your character. We're saying it because we feel that the way we're being treated, it's a human rights issue. And debating on a topic of human rights is not ethical. If somebody's coming to you and saying, well, I feel like I'm being treated differently because of my color. I believe I'm being treated differently because of my orientation. I believe I'm being treated differently because of my religion. Those are things that you can't necessarily argue with someone about, And I'm just going to keep it real with you, white people. When people address certain issues with you guys on certain sensitivities, and you get defensive, it looks bad. So you may not be racist. You may have really good intentions. You flat out may have really great intentions. But if somebody is coming to you on a human rights issue, you might, want to put whatever defensive response you have aside and listen to the person first. And then put yourself in that person's shoes. Well, if it were you and your family, say if, for whatever reason, you as a white male or a white female going to work and, they demote you and they docking off your pay, but you got a family to feed. You don't know why you're being demoted. You just know that you're being demoted. And then you come to find out, essentially, you're being demoted because you're the only white person in the business establishment and everybody else is of color, right? And this is just a scenario. And you know it. Deep down, you know it. You know you got families to feed. You know you got your family to feed and you can't afford to be demoted. And now you're wondering how you're going to feed your family. Anybody from an outside in can look at the situation. I don't have to be a white person to empathize or sympathize even or have compassion for you. Well, I can understand it if it were me and my family was dependent on me and somebody demoted me at the wrong time, I'd be frustrated too. I would want to address this to the boss too. I'd want to, sue or, file a complaint or do what I can to, especially if I find out that the reason I got demoted was not because of my skill, but because of my race. And I got a whole family to feed. It doesn't take a genius to realize that, whoa, this is, a person's life. They got children. I'm taking food off this person's table. It doesn't take a genius to come to that realization that, oh, maybe I am being unfair. And all it takes is putting yourself in that situation. But let me just call a spade here, white people. If you are not able to put yourself in that person's shoes, I'm just gonna keep it funky. What does that say about the mindset? It's really not that hard to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Now, I know that, sometimes when them hip hop and R&B songs pop up on the radio, you want to say nigga. I know that when you probably working in a business establishment, especially if it was your business, if you own that business, you're more than likely going to be more inclined to hire and recruit your own people. It's not personal. That's not racist. It's common sense and it's basic instinct. But when it comes to human rights issues and, you kind of get defensive about it, it looks bad. It looks bad. It makes your entire race look bad too. It ain't just you. It makes white people look bad as a whole when we say things like, hey, we don't want you to say the N-word, or, hey, we don't like the way you treat one person better than the other, and you get defensive. Or, just anytime there's any, mention of there being unfair and unjust treatment towards someone because of their race, and just being defensive and overlooking someone else's point of view, it brings about opposition in a very unhealthy way. Because, the main issue is not being addressed. I'm just going to keep it real. And this is how I'm going to... I'm actually glad I said that because, this kind of goes into the topic of white fragility. Because what I've noticed is, because of white fragility, there are white people who get defensive when these types of topics are brought up, and they may not necessarily be racist, but they got that white guilt. I'm just gonna keep it funky. So anytime the topic of white supremacy comes up, or imperialism, or systematic oppression, that the white fragility starts to float to the top. And white people get very defensive when it comes to stuff like that. And I mean, if I'm putting myself in your shoes, I can understand why. From like a non-racist white person, I'd be like, well, shit, slavery's been over already. I mean, why y'all still holding this over our head? You don't understand. You don't really see what people of color, have to go through or experience. Like you don't know, like you really can't like relate, honestly. I mean, unless you just so happen to be a white person that grew up in a poor neighborhood, but though that's not the majority of the white people that I see that grew up in the hood. I don't see very many. And the ones that, are out there, their voice it's not really, there's not a lot of light shine on those particular white people. But for the most part, for the majority of the white race, you guys really don't like get to like fully see or experience what it's like to be someone of color. It's not really an experience that you can relate to unless you have family members that are of color, or you may have a significant other or a child or someone that that's very close to you, where you've seen experiences where they were treated differently. But other than that, that's kind of all you get. You don't really know what, the black experience is like, or just what people of color have to experience on a daily. I can't expect you to relate to that. But I can expect you to have sympathy, empathy, and compassion for human beings, period. Because if you can have if you can have compassion for animals and not support, their cruelty, then you can put a stop to human cruelty too. If you can sit there and defend an animal from getting beaten up or, abused in any way, shape, or form or harmed, then you can do that for another person. And that's empathy, that's compassion, that's sympathy, morals. That's what pushes people to understand one another. And like I was saying earlier, you know, if white people were put in the exact same position and situation of people of color that they may look down on, if the tables were turned, then I'm pretty sure you'll understand why we don't want you using the N-word. I'm pretty sure you'll understand why it's not okay for you to do certain things. Because there's, the trauma from what, the Europeans did. With the colonization, all of us, even white people are suffering at the hands, of white supremacy. We're all traumatized. If we're not upper class, and even some of the upper class people are traumatized. Just because you got money, that don't mean, you can't be affected by white supremacy. Even you see rich people of color, especially rich black people, still complaining about being treated unjustly, and they got money. They probably paying double to go in some of these restaurants, and they still getting treated like garbage. So I mean, it's just that needs to be addressed, and then the white fragility that's within the white community, that needs to be addressed too. I'll be the one to address it. When somebody's complaining to you about something that's a human rights issue, putting the difference in race and culture and creed aside, it just takes empathy to relate to someone who's going through a human rights issue. Because racism is a human rights issue. Just like misogyny, just like being anti-Semitic, they're all human rights issues. And it doesn't take someone of the same culture or the same race to be able to relate. It shouldn't have to. And I'm just going to keep it real with you white people. It's getting to the point where, at least me speaking up for the black community, we're holding you accountable for what you do and say. So if your actions and your words are going towards the oppression of black people, then, we'll be holding you accountable for that. But if your words and actions are going towards at least you either trying to understand us, then we can respect that. But we know the difference between you trying to understand us and you making an excuse for your behavior formed in a question. I'm just going to keep it real. I don't have time to sit here and sugarcoat this for you white people. I don't. Because, there are certain things that you guys say and do that we black people, we've tolerated, for too long. And I'm just going to address certain things so that bullshit doesn't slide anymore. We don't like when you say the N-word. If you keep saying it, then what you're saying is, I don't respect you as a person, as a human being. It's that simple. We don't want you saying the N-word. And that's not just white people. That's anybody that's not black. If you're saying the N-word at this point, it's an issue. And what you're saying to me is, I don't care about your issue. And what you're saying to the black community is, I don't care about your issue. That's fine. But when you've been excommunicated from the black community, I'm pretty sure you'll feel the difference. And I wonder if you'll feel the same then when you've been excommunicated, because you'd be surprised how deep the black community is within this planet, within the businesses, within everything. And you take away the black money, you take away black support, and what do you have? Because a lot of people say, oh, well, I don't need your black vote, or I don't need your black money. I don't want your black money, until they have none of it. Oh, you don't want our black money? Okay, then cool. We're going to take all of our money elsewhere. And then what happens to that business after that? What happens to that person after that? So I'm just going to keep it real, because I really don't have anything to gain from tearing the white community down. And I have nothing to gain from uplifting the black community at white people's expense. I don't. It's just certain things that need to be addressed so that barriers can be broken, and so that we can have a mature conversation. Because I'm just going to keep it real. We know the difference between when you guys are asking a question because you want to inform yourselves, and when you're asking a question to be a smartass. And we also know when you're asking a question to kind of pacify what you want to do. So some questions we know you're asking not because you're gaining clarity, but you're making excuses to keep doing what you want to do. And I'm just letting you know, I'm confronting all that now, because I'm not letting that slide. I see it for what it is. But I also know that there are just some things that you guys do not understand within the black community that you have to either learn through being around us or by asking us questions. I do understand that. But don't get it twisted. I know the difference, just like the black people in the community. We know the difference. I know the difference, and we know the difference. So if there's any questions that you guys have to ask us, be very careful with your word choice. And make sure that you're asking with intent to further understand any differences between us. Because if you go around asking questions being disrespectful, don't be surprised if you get ignored or blocked. Because we won't tolerate disrespect anymore. That's one thing we won't do. So we know the black community, we know why you guys have white fragility. Because you're uncomfortable. You know what your ancestors have done to us. And you have white privilege as well. And you getting a privilege at other people's expense, I can only imagine how uncomfortable that is. I'd be uncomfortable if, I'm getting all this stuff just because I'm white. And I got the privilege to. And other people are busting their ass and struggling around me, looking at me like I'm a hot meal. I know that when some of y'all be going through the hood, y'all get uncomfortable. I understand that. You have every reason to be uncomfortable. Because your car, your clothes, your whole outfit, your haircut screams money. And you coming through the hood with niggas that's begging for money. I get it, you know what I'm saying? But, we're human beings, though. And the reason why it seems like we're like caged animals is because of the projects. It's a one big scientific social experiment. And I'm pretty sure that